Did you hear me? Yeah, just how you, maybe even how you came to get your name and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So okay. Well, so I mean, when I the first place that like music was like birthing me is definitely in church. I grew up in church a lot, and we always had music playing like all the time. And so there was certain songs I would just listen to over and over and over again, um, and that was just a part of my daily existence. And From there, really, I think I got into instruments next. I think we had got like a drum set, uh, and I did that. And then we got like a keyboard, and then like so every new thing we got, I was just like so like infatuated with it. So I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I remember there was one Sunday, and I had made this rap over the weekend, and I was like, all right, cool. I want to like do this rap in front of the church. And so I got up there and I said my little piece and stumbled through it some and did great. But I felt so accomplished, and like everyone clapped. And I think like that was the moment where I was like, yo, like I don't know, it just felt really nice to see that I can like put words together and like it had meaning. um, yeah. So, and then
How old were you?
when I did my first rap, ooh, maybe
Hmm.
I want to say, I'm going to say I was 9. I'm going to say
Oh my
9.
gosh! Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to say 9. I think it was 9. Yeah, that feels right. Um, yeah. And then as far as music, like, and then after I continued, then I got really serious with drums, and then I started singing in the choir. Um, and this continued for years, and then like so until I was 14, like I had like all I listened to was basically like church music. And then after I ended up moving with my grandparents, I got like I got all the music channels. My grandparents, I don't know if you like they used to have like they had like music channels where it'd be different videos for different like genres. It'd be like
Hmm.
country, it could be anything. And so like I would just sit there for hours and like turn through all the channels and just absorb all this music like for hours and hours. And like I definitely think now I see like how so much of that has influenced like who I am, because it's not like, yeah, like I do rap, but also like everything that I listen to specifically that time still influences, like Evanescence. I don't know if you know, Evanescence is like that was huge for me. A lot of rock music was really huge for me.
Hmm.
A lot
Hmm.
of like instrumentational music. Yeah, it just like all came together. I think at that when I was like more introduced to all these different type of genres, and I was like, yo, like oh, there's this and there's that, and I can sound like this. So it was just that was I think that's what solidified, I would say, my love for music. I think was there around those times. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
I really, I think that's really cool. That it's, it really was a amalgamation of all these genres that solidified it. You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
really cool. Because when I listen to your music, I hear it. I hear that. I hear the influence of all these, genres. So you call yourself the catalytical musical healer at Senza Infinite. Is it Infinite or Infinite?
Infinite.
Infinite. I have been saying Infinite, and I haven't saying it right. Okay, so Senza Infinite. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm just putting my own flair on there, or it really like I'm like
Follow your
subconscious now.
heart.
I'm recording, like, did I say that all right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, your Senza Infinite, catalytical musical healer. I'll be putting all her information in the description. And yeah. So how did that all come together? Because that's really cool.
Well, definitely there was some trial and error before that with with some previous trying out names, but I think that came to me because it's like a double negative, because Senza is a musical term, so it's like without measure, and as we know, like infinite is forever going. So I like to say like two negatives make a positive. so, um,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
really because I feel like, you know, like I am limitless in my music abilities and my ability to create, number one, and my ability to create shifts and changes, you know, in the ways that I meant to. I think, like, I don't know all the other names I had, like this one really stuck in it. Like for this one, I feel it in my soul, and I feel it to, like, you know, like to be really true. I think it's very powerful. So I
Yeah,
try to
and
live accordingly.
catalytical stems from catalyst, right? The
Right,
word
right.
catalyst. So you are a
Yeah.
catalyst for healing, right? Yeah.
Right.
I think, I think the more it's like, it's very true. Our experiences with creating and music and all that is infinite, because it keeps hitting me, how powerful or destructive music can be, or or media or whatever can be, and you were talking about the catalyst, how certain songs or words or whatever because you wonder, like, in your head, how is this making a difference, or how is this helping me or anyone. But when you're listening to music, then you have these moments like, oh yeah, it's like it's starting something, it's planting something, it's starting something, it's triggering something powerful. So yeah,
Right.
I see that. Well, Senza Infinite is phenomenal. This is why I have her on here.
Special type of pressure.
Yeah, and so we talk a lot. I have you on here because we talk a lot about music and its influence on culture, and there really isn't that conversation at all anymore about how it was kind of waning, I think, over the last 20 years, kind of since we were born and growing up, this kind of waning of the fact that music can be a tool of empowerment, and even I was listening to, in particular, a Black American singer from, I believe, 1950s and 60s, and how she said that during the civil rights era, her music became solely about liberating her people. So there was a consciousness there, with all the races, kind of making their music, and this is consciousness that it can be a tool. But that's really waned over, since we've been growing up. And the fact that there are any musicians at all left that really put that first is a rare thing. So, yeah, so I invite you on here because we talk about that a lot, about... Yeah, so I want to kind of hear in your words, sort of, I guess what I kind of stemming from what I was saying about what do you think about where music in general, but your hip hop, rap, how has it sort of evolved or devolved, depending on because there's some really phenomenal rappers in our time, there's that really did that were the true artists in the truest sense of the word. But and they became famous and well known and all that, but it kind of seems all this junk has been piled on since then. But anyway, I want to hear in your words, like, what are your thoughts about that, about how it has evolved or devolved as we were growing up, and this kind of stuff. And it can be your genre or just music in general or whatever.
Well, so, all right, I definitely will speak on for, like, hip hop first. I think, and so this is something that I've, like, within the last year, like, learned that actually hip hop music was, when it started off, it was more like dance music. You know what I mean? Like, more like going to, like, everyone wants to party, everyone wants to do this, you know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't as in-depthful as it kind of evolved to, even though over time it devolved, and here we are now. But I think with all that, like, I think it's important to be aware of the times. Because, like, I think, like, for me now, if I were to speak about things that I feel like have nothing they're not relevant with things that are going on now. You know, they're not necessarily helping people to create a better life. You know, I mean, it's kind of like perpetuating the problem. I think. So I'm saying, I think, how do I put this? I think, yes, I think it's really just about being aware of the times. And I think like a lot of artists and just a lot of people don't necessarily take the time to see like, okay, like, am I creating change or am I creating like destruction? You know?
You were saying, you were talking about the, how hip hop has evolved from dance, and then it became more in depth or musical or storytelling kind of thing, and then you know, people don't think about like understanding the times, addressing the times, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to
people
get me
don't
back
think
on this.
about what they're. Sorry.
No, sorry. Let's see. Okay. So I was saying people don't think about the times, and I was saying, no, I don't know. Yeah, ask me a question now. I got it.
That people don't think about. You're saying that people just don't think in general about what they're doing, right?
Right.
About, you know, are they making, what impact they're making, either negative or positive. It doesn't matter. You know, they don't think at all about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's not a lot of awareness, I like to say. You know, I mean, because like everyone is conscious, right? But I think awareness is a different type of thing. And I don't think that society really like pushes the awareness part, you know what I mean? Because it creates so much destruction and limitless communities. But I do. Oh no, okay, I got it. So what I was saying is like I think over the last like 8 years or so, like I've been feeling like the shift in it, where it's more like it's been a very slow and treacherous shift, but I feel like where I think people are just getting tired, you know, of the same thing with any music and things that aren't really like aren't trying to like feed your soul, because again, we're being aware of the times, and the times, like, you know, you can rap about all these things, but a lot of people don't have these things. A lot of people are like really struggling, you know what I mean? Like really going through it internally, mentally, spiritually. And so I feel like a lot of the music is hanging on by a dance, which I mean, it's like a lot of songs that become popular are because there's a dance attached to it. That's like the last, for me, that's like the last pillar, because there's not much sustenance to it. You know what I mean? So it's like anything to try to hold on to something that wasn't like, hasn't been built on depth. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember us talking about that. Yeah, I've been really thinking about that, about how the music video, you know, the dance number or music video, or even if they're, you know, selling sex or money or whatever, that's, you know, that really is what's kind of, you know, holding it together, I guess, keeping the attention. But it's interesting, you talk about how if you rap about money and you rap about, oh, I got this and that, and then there are people who don't have that. And I think that's very, you know, like most people don't have that kind of lifestyle. And something I was telling my husband, I was like, I can't watch like some media nowadays, like especially live stuff, because it's just become like so much more. It's become like just rich people guffawing with rich people. You know, it's like talking about all that they have and how wonderful this is and all that. And they become, I guess the word would be unrelatable. It's become like what makes music powerful or art powerful is how it's relatable, and it creates this relationship, right? This space. I was watching Mr. Rogers' neighborhood documentary, and he was saying that the space between the screen, and the audience watching is a sacred space, because he was actually a minister before he was on, and he talked about how it's a sacred space between, and you know, and he really held that space. You know, he did. You could tell he held that space. So there's a lot of wind. Hang on, let me just. So sorry. it's a little rocky at first to get started. Sorry, but and like really informal.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I know I'm sort of like in this space where, because every time I talk to you, we have this really optimistic view of it, and I'm like, I notice I have a very cynical view of it. Like, we're just like, everything's gone to shit. You know, what are we gonna do? I can't listen to the radio anymore. You know, and you're just like, it's the last pillar, and you know, we're breaking through, and all. And I'm like, hey, maybe you know, maybe I need to listen. So I guess kind of going into it, the kind of things that you write about, that you rap about, you know, what would you, I guess, and this will flow into different things. It doesn't have to be exactly this, but you know, what do you tend to think about? You know, what comes out, you know, and in terms of what you want to talk about, and you know, are you? I mean, I've listened to some things that you've written, but not everything. So, you know.
Well, I definitely the first thing is like me being inspired, right? And then the next is it could be a sound or something of the sort. The words aren't there yet. And then usually I fill out the sounds and then the words come naturally, and then I'll tweak it to a point. But I think definitely the main thing, the first thing I'm thinking about is, for me, is like, okay, what am I putting out? How is it going to affect? For me, it's like I'm always thinking about like my cousins, my nieces, my nephews, you know, like more like the youth. I'm like, okay, so how is this going to affect them in this way? You know what I mean? And then from there, because that's so important to me, definitely like working with youth and just being very mindful of what we're feeding them. And so I think definitely I would say at the core of me, it's really, the music I do is really about, I would say, self-development. Because that, you know, as we know, that's like never ending. You know, like we're always going to constantly be working on ourselves, and we should. You know, like we should always be learning new things because we live in this huge world where, you know what I mean, like new things come out every day. And so I think it's really just about self-development. It's not so much on like it's not just the physical. You know what I mean? That means like mentally, spiritually, like really just trying to like work on being a better you, and how can you apply that to the world around you. I would say that's the main thing. I definitely put a lot of thought, like down to specific words and how it might be interpreted, and how can I tweak that so it can only be interpreted, you know, like as only one way, as best as I can, you know, like. So I take a lot of pride. That's where I take a lot of pride in what I do, because I think that music is sacred. You know what I mean? And so I go in there with that in mind. And so like I'm proud of myself, but I'm like, okay, I created something that I feel can get someone to think, or you know what I mean, or remind someone of something of the sort. So
yeah, the interconnectedness that happens, you know, that thread, if you like, you know, an ancient concept where women weaving used to be a woman, you know, and for thousands of years a woman's art form, but it was a sacred art form because it represented, or was like a physical kind of conduit representing the threads of life, you know, and like that's what I always see, you know, when we're making music and stuff, how we weave those threads together, you know, influencing somebody's life, and how this one song or this one word or one verse or whatever, how it influences and how it creates this tapestry. You know, and so that is like, you know, that's also the power though in the destructive part. You make music you make art that's destructive, you know, and how does that affect that tapestry? You know, where does how that disconnect? And and really being aware of how it's affecting the youth. You know, that's really, you know, that's really powerful, and that's where artists should really come from. You know, and also the self-development part, because I think we also get wrapped up in what are we creating out there, you know, rather than what is out there is what we've developed, you know, we've developed from the inside. And I love to hear that you take so much pride in what you do. Like, I just love that, because I'm like, oh, man, she's so powerful, and like I just really need her to know that, and I hope she knows that. So I'm really glad. Like, I'm really happy to hear that you take a lot of pride, because you really should. You really should take a lot of pride in what you do. And I was watching an interview with Lizzo recently, or like some talk show, and she said that, and I love how just, and recently actually I watched an interview with Snoop Dogg too, and it's interesting that all these hip hop artists, and Lizzo is like hip hop, but it's like also this sort of fusion stuff going on too. But they're coming out about how they were really they were really saturated with music through church, you know, religious music, and that's the same with me too, you know. And I think and she was talking about the Snoop Dogg was actually talking about that too, where how the spiritual, because I think maybe in Western culture we get too caught up in, oh, is it religious and blah blah. But I loved how Snoop Dogg and Lizzo were talking about just simply the spirituality and how it touched them, and how religious music talks about, you know, spirituality and touching the soul and communing with the spirit, right? So that is at the essence of their art, you know, or who they are as an artist, and I just love how they're coming out about that in a, you know, just in a really honest way, because I think our culture gets caught up too much in, you know, whether it's, you know, religious or whatever. We should talk about that communing part, because that's how it was for me too. I feel like music, I think I forget that too because of that conversation, you know, where, oh, religious music, church music, whatever, that's sort of separate from the artistic process, when it's not. And the one thing I want to say is that she said that people have told her that going to her performances is like going to church. And you listen to her songs, they're not particularly religious, you know, songs, but the essence that she carries is so spiritual. And people have told her it's like going to church. You know, it's like a sacred thing, you know, and I was like, wow, like it really is the content of your character, right? That it's not really in what you're saying necessarily, but what you're saying will get influenced by your spirit, you know. So so that's what you were talking about, you know, talking about that. Yeah, and I think I really forgot that. I was also infused with music, well, through my schooling too, but church, you know, church is a big thing, and it really is, you know, you use music in church to connect.
Right.
You know,
right.
And you know, I don't think we need to necessarily use okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about like the space, you know, that we have church as a four walls and a steeple, right? But the space in which we create as like a powerful artist, you know, creates. I think every powerful artist has acknowledged on some level that the space in which they create is, wherever it is their church or place of worship or temple or something, you know, wherever you are creating. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like the space in which you create, you know, you sit to create, and, you know.
Definitely, I think taking the approach of of understanding the importance of creating space, number one, you know what I mean, and like what that holds. Definitely, for me, like just making sure that like the lighting's just right, making sure that I'm feeling like centered, making sure things are clear, and so that you know what I mean, like really just creating the atmosphere for the muse to come. You know what I mean? And so definitely, I believe that that is extremely important.
Yeah. Like, and also like protecting it. I Something I've learned from you is like how well you protect your space
Mm-hmm.
with that. I think that's something that a lot of artists struggle with actually. Is protecting that space where
Right.
you create it, but then all of a sudden everybody wants something. As soon as you create it, somebody wants something, and then but being able to put your foot down, no, this is the time that in that like I think music has devolved and art has devolved because the emphasis on communing,
Mm-hmm.
communing with the spirit,
Mm-hmm.
if communing with the soul the emphasis on that in our culture has really deteriorated,
Right, right, right.
and yeah, so let me just collect my thoughts here. What did you have something? I was thinking I was going to collect my thoughts and present something else, but did you have something you wanted to talk
No, I was
about?
listening. No,
Okay, you're listening to
I'll
me.
let you
Okay,
lead the way.
all right. I'm the host. I gotta take responsibility for my thing. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the struggles of sort of overcoming the struggles, and I guess you could say self-doubt, or sort of riding the waves of increase and decrease and self-doubt and self-confidence, and and collecting yourself again to like, no, this is universally important, because
Right,
sort of living in a world where the emphasis is not there, right? You're
right,
really
right.
carrying it with the spirit, right? So yeah, I'd like to hear about
Such a great question. That's a really good question. Definitely is a daily practice for me. I think for me, like if I'm creating, like you have this idea, and then you put all this energy into it, and then it's done. And I think sometimes when it's done, it's like a balloon burst, and then it's like, oh, for me, it's like I'm on this huge high, and then like, okay, then when I start to come back down, that's when like I'm like, oh, is this even good, or is like that's when all the self doubt coming out, and I have to like really like sit back and be like, okay, no, I know this is fire, number one, you know what I mean, and really just kind of like solidify my trust in myself and my intuition. Um, and definitely, for me, that was help like really having like people encourage me, like as and just really have a solid backing, and also because it kind of like, if you got a group of people that really, really, really rock with you, obviously it's gonna help build your spirit as well. And also on the other side of that, it's not about just leaning on people. You know what I mean? Because if you're not solid in yourself, then you're gonna, like that's not stability. And so I think for me, it's just really reaffirming my inner knowing that this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what I'm great at, and really just retraining my brain, and then when someone's like, yo, that's dope, it's more like, oh, thank you, like I think I'm dope too, and I really appreciate the confirmation, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think
yeah,
it's
it's
a daily
both, right?
practice. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's practice. Yeah, practice, and I think, I mean, for me, I think one of the biggest struggles has been understanding the importance of the feedback,
yeah.
feedback from people who are worthy of your, like, being in your creative process. I think that's
Right,
a
right.
big lesson, that I've been through anyway. Because you're just like, I think, we both come from tough backgrounds, and you get used to so much negative influence, and you kind of, oh, this is just how it is. And yeah, in some way that's how it is. But on the other hand, it doesn't mean that your sort of inner space has to be that way. It has to be influenced with that. And we can talk about how, using the art form, because used to be people, not so much in our Western culture, but people still all over the world, art forms are also religious forms. Art forms are also spiritual practices, so that's what I see with you. What do you think about that? I really see that with you. I really see that your art form is not just about creating music. It's also about creating yourself. And it's also about helping to create, cultivate other people, especially youth and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to hear about that.
I like that. I like that. I love how you worded that. Definitely. I think because I can't create any other way. You know what I mean? Like, when you really create from that connected space, that's just how you run. So I feel like where a lot of the times where some things I create take a lot of time, but it doesn't take a lot of time in my eyes, because it's no, this has to be right. You know what I mean? This is what is supposed to be. And so I think being connected to that spirit and being very intentional about it, creates the space for unlimited flowers to blossom. You know what I mean? If I do something that has no depth to it, I know it. I'm I need to go back and fix that. And so definitely so I think it's really hard for me to create something that's not spiritually connected, nor would I want to. You know what I mean? Because it's what's the point? Who am I really helping? If I'm not really being intentional about it.
Yeah, that is so true. Because if it doesn't have any depth in the space that you're creating, then that's how energy works. If it doesn't have any depth there, then it's not going to have any depth even in the out. It doesn't take on. It doesn't seed. It doesn't germinate. It doesn't seed. It just or it germinates and seeds something that you don't want. Shallowness or whatever.
Right.
It kind of generates that. And that's something that I thought about, creating, is that, that you create from a space, then, that, there's artists that they're such deep people, they're such profound people that they might create something that's fun, but it's still got this resonance to it.
Right, right.
It might be fun, or it might be, and you can hear then something I think even dance music nowadays really bothers me, because the artists themselves doesn't have any depth. I think I'm trying to think Bruno Mars, for example. I guess he's really more famous for his dance numbers and all that, and I appreciate that he can dance, and I appreciate that he has talent and all that. But I honestly feel he's kind of an example of, if he does have depth as a person, he doesn't make that a priority, because you don't hear it in his music. I mean, I don't feel it. I do feel his talent. I feel almost his sort of passion for the media, whatever. I don't feel his passion for, his art form, or his relationship to other people, or his relationship to the power, whatever that, So yeah, it's not just what you're saying, but also just who you are. And I think that's what you were saying before, that you have to cultivate who you are, because that will shine through. But then also at the same time, it's the other way around too. It creates you, It cultivates you. You cultivate yourself. You create something that has resonance, and then it also creates you. You know. So yeah, and like I guess we can talk about just this is something that has been a struggle with me. I went, as you know, I went to Tennessee, and I work with really influential people in the business, and it just like, it was, looking back on it, I see it more clearly. Back then, it was, I guess now I see it, I was being siphoned.
Mm-hmm.
They saw what they could use me for. And the thing is, the woman I was working with, she was just really good at what she did. She wasn't like a bad person. She just knew what it took to be in the industry. And that, okay, we just talk about that. So there's the industry, and then there's also, the art form, and like the more and more it only took me 10 months or a year to realize the industry isn't about the art form at all, and it isn't about even like creating an impact or anything like that. It's an industry, and so it was a siphoning thing. It felt siphoned. I felt taken from, and by the time the time the year was up, I was just like, I couldn't create anymore because I just felt like I'd been robbed of so much confidence and all this kind of stuff. So, but we want to. It's like you want to be able to make a big impact. And there's nothing wrong with that, being financially, externally successful with your art. That is still a goal of mine, and still a goal of yours, I'm assuming. But it's like I saw the shortcut that I could take. Because I knew that I had what it took to do that. But I guess at the end of the day, was it worth giving up my soul to not to giving up my soul to be successful? It was like, was it worth giving up my soul to do it in this way? Because you can be successful in another way. You can be very successful in another way, but you just pick a different avenue. So it actually took, I think I told you this before, it took me 10 years to realize I wanted to be independent, and I knew it was going to take longer. I knew it was going to be harder, but it wasn't worth. It wasn't worth being robbed of my soul. So yeah, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
About the music industry, more specifically?
Yeah, just like, I guess it took me, I was saying, what my process was like, it's, oh God, I need to be independent. I need to do this. If I don't do that, then I will create a legacy that I don't want. And it was actually really, and I know for you, it's important to you that you create a legacy that you want.
Definitely.
And not just being successful and not just having a big impact by any means necessary, but that you create a legacy that you not just proud of, but that you feel if someone 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, it's timeless. It's a timeless legacy. So I don't know. It's a kind of a big concept, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I mean, like, I think there's definitely like a billion ways people can go about it, and so, like, some people do go the mainstream way, and if that works for them, I think there are some people that do have depth and went the mainstream way, and they still are able to like keep true to themselves. The shift now is more independent. I know for myself, like when I was younger, I was like, I had all these labels. I'm like, I want to be on this one, and I kind of like, for me, just watching other artists, I feel like I've come to the conclusion that definitely want to go my own route. Because, I like to do what I want to do, and I want to be able to control what, like, I'm bringing through, and so why would I let someone that wasn't in the creative process have say-so over it. You know, and I think it takes a lot more work and a lot more know-how than if you had a machine behind you, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do everything. You might have to do your videos. You might have to mix your music, like all these different things. But I think the lessons learned through that is like, yeah, I can do it. And now you know what to look for because you've done it, you know? So I think for me, like, I'm seeing more and more how much work is needed in order to make it work how it's supposed to. You know what I mean? Like, to really, like, the impact that I know that it's going to make requires significant work. You know what I mean? And there's a way to do that in a very, like, way that you're not, like, you know, hanging on by a piece of a string. You know what I mean? But I think for me, like, I'm just learning more and more. Like, I'm taking different, like, branding things and just seeing, like, oh, like, I didn't even think of this. You know, like, it's definitely possible. It's just it takes a different type of work, you know. And so I think most of it is a shift. I think some people, if they're in it for, not everyone, but some people are in it just for quick bucks. You know what I mean? Like, I can get this, I can get that. You know, like, that's a way to go. And they'll get it faster because, you know, there's a system set up in order to push them, you know. But for me, I'm like, I'm getting my system set up. It's just a different type of system, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to, like, it's a learning process to realize that there's all these, like, I remember just being beaten down so much about dance because people like, you know, you gotta start really young. You're way too old to make anything out to do anything with it. You're too old. You know what? I was 16 or whatever, 15. Like, you know, you're too old to do anything with it. And I guess it's like you're always talking about this, like breaking out of these concepts about, and it's like, it's amazing to me that we're swimming in, the creative people, we're just swimming in the sea of destructive concepts about everything. You know, it's like, and that overwhelms me. You think you kind of have this innocence where, like, you're like, oh, maybe the more positive, the truth would be more overwhelming. You know, you believe it because that's what's coming to you all the time, right? But it's like, that's not true. So much of what's coming at you is not true. You know, it's like, you know, like who's, you know, it's like, I'm, you know, 30 now, and so many things have happened just in this almost a year of being 30, where, like, I don't know, there's some huge shift that happened where, like, the concept will come to me, you know, oh, you're too old to do dance or whatever, you know, or to make anything of dance, or, you know, or you're gonna, whatever, you know, you can't learn guitar, you can't learn to get better at guitar when you're older or whatever. And, like, for the first time, it's like I am really being like, hey, like, answering that voice, like, wait, who says that? Who says that is? Like, who made up that rule? Right. You know, so yeah, so I think, you know, this concept of time where, you know, everyone's in a hurry, and I think I knew that I could get it in a hurry, sort of external success in a hurry because of the connections. And that's what they said, and, you know, in Tennessee, it's like, you know, like, it's not about talent, honey, it's about connections or whatever. And I have to kind of agree with that, you know, when it comes to the industry. It really is, if someone sees something that they can market. That's really the thing. It doesn't have to be extraordinarily talented. Even a writer I was working with, he's like, I was telling him, like, I think this was like a couple of months, a few months before I left, because something just snapped at that point. He was like, I was like talking about writing about something meaningful, you know, and really going, you know, through this process that we're talking about. And he's like, no, in this industry, you just write. And every once in a while, something great comes out. But that's not how it works. You just write something, you write catchy stuff, you throw a bunch of stuff out there, see what sticks, and then every once in a while something great. I'm just like, like I can't do that. I can't swim in a sea of meaninglessness,
right,
and then wait for that great song that whatever that makes a huge impact or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just that I couldn't. I'm like, I can't work with that. And as you said, there are people who go that way and they're able to maintain their integrity. Personally, I don't know what you think. Personally, I think most people cannot keep their integrity. It's too tempting. The money, the attention, whatever.
I think it's just really it's based on your internal solidness. You know what I mean? Like it just really just depends on that. And if you have people that are like not just trying to like gas you up, you know what I mean? Like and are really like, oh, like just you just gotta be solid. You gotta be solid in yourself. You know what I mean? So
you gotta have your soulmates. I know it's like you gotta have your soulmates who are behind. You got your back. Like I consider myself your soulmate.
Yeah.
Your musical soulmate. So you need to have those people who got your back, like no matter what. And I think that's the other thing is I realize these people, if I fail, I'm going to hit the pavement like that. Like, and they are going to be gone. Nobody is going to care. If I hit the pavement really hard, I'm too exhausted, whatever, like, okay, we can't squeeze any more blood out of you.
Right.
We're done. We're out of here.
On to the next. Yeah.
On to the next.
Yeah.
But you have to find, and I feel like a lot of people go into the industry alone. They're kind of discovered by these people, and they're like, oh, you said gas them up. Oh, we can do this, we can do that. And that's what people are doing to me, and that's when I realized, and I'm glad it only took me a year, but like, I realized like these people are going to be gone. They don't care. They'll be gone if I'm miserable or whatever. I'm miserable. I fail. I have a nervous breakdown, whatever. But actually, the process, like it really is about meeting the people who have your back, the artists who have your back. That no matter what. Like you have a bad performance, you have a bad day, you're feeling anxiety. You curl up in a ball. You don't create for a year because you're like, whatever, having swimming in, trauma, whatever. Like you got people who are like, no, just see the process for what it is, and then always there. And I think that's, I think there's like there's that process. So what was I thinking? Oh yeah, okay. So I'm curious. You were talking about how like hip hop at first was more of like a dance thing, kind of have fun, get together, whatever. And then it became more of a storytelling thing. Was that the process? It became more storytelling, and then what was that process? Because I know that like contemporaries like for us, Lauryn Hill and Nas and trying to think of others like great storytelling like rappers. I mean, I know there's Eminem and all. Not Eminem. Eminem was a pretty good storyteller, but he was pretty angry. But was it 50 Cent? But 50 Cent was not a storyteller. He just created like popular hits or whatever. But there are these great storytelling like rappers, and those were and then there was ones that were just or Big Pun was another one. Like it just but they I know them. I've heard their work, growing up, and then as an adult, and then there was the rappers that just were just more entertainment, whatever. But I didn't know that there was a process there. I kind of thought like, hip hop rap was like a storytelling medium, and then later became entertainment. I don't know. I don't know that.
Which is which is a common misconception, and I was the same until earlier. But yeah, no, it definitely wasn't. It was just more like it was just like have fun, get down type of music. But I feel like.
When would you say it became like a storytelling type of medium? You know, where people started really talking about their life.
But I think you have songs that are known, and you have people that are not, that probably made fire storytelling songs, and you just never, like we never heard them. I don't know. For me, like I'm not going to place any year on it right now because I don't want to be wrong. Yeah. But I think we're more of a. I think it's just the times, and I think it just comes with the times, because if you're thinking about like Common and you're thinking about Lauryn Hill, like it's just more what's going on
at the time.
You know what I mean? And so.
Yeah.
Versus like with anything, it's all music where it's like there's some sense of escapism. You know what I mean? Because people are like, yeah. I ain't trying to hear none of this. I'm just trying to forget whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah. I feel like.
And that's legit in its own right? Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like there's always been great storytellers. It's just did we hear about them, and also were they being pushed at the time? You know what I mean? So I just feel like.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, what was sort of like, marketable at the time or whatever.
But I just feel like there's always been great storytellers. It's just now it's just different. I think a lot of things, the world is, in a very confusing state right now, and so I think you have a lot of people just. At the core of it, I think people are just trying to survive. A lot of people are in survival mode, and so here we are, like trying to survive. And, I need money to survive. I need friends, all these things. So it's kind of all these external things. And then you have people on the other side, like where I'm finding a lot of like artists that are having like meaningful stuff. I definitely, like I was saying, like see the shift. And it's the times, because of the times, this is like more people that are being more intentional with the music are making a rise now, you know what I mean? So I just think it's more.
Sorry, 1 second.
No, it's fine.
Oh, right here. You okay? What happened? Your tummy hurt? Oh, I wanted to sort of share like a humorous thing. Another Snoop Dogg, he was like on a forum thing, and I guess they call it mumble rap now. Mm-hmm. Where it's sort of like, he did it so well. But, the rap that's on the radio now, like a lot, they do the trap beat, and then they do like kind of like, it's like kind of like this mumble rap kind of thing. And he's like, someone told me, he was kind of calling it out, like someone told me in the studio, to rap like that. He was like, why would I ever rap like that? He was just sort of like making fun of, like mimicking it, like
that's so out of his style. That's so out of his style.
What'd you say?
I said that's so opposite of his style. That would not fit him at all.
Well, I thought that was interesting insight into like how, like, to me it was so shocking that anyone would ask Snoop Dogg to do that. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think, what do you think about that? I think that like some of the audacity of asking this very established rapper who has established his style, he has mm-hmm. established his thing, and they're like, oh, rap like this. It's like, I don't know. It's just shocking to me.
I mean, I could see where the intention was probably because, like, being with the times, right? And also, like, he's solid enough in himself to be like, yeah, that's not my thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like I'm willing to keep my audience and my what I've built.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need to expand to other whatever.
That's true. Yeah, I think that would be. I feel like that would be more for like trying to get a certain type of attention, but like he's solid enough in himself to be like, and he knows himself and he knows his audience, so I'm sure he's like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of like you get, you know, I stayed long enough with people in the industry where there's this language that there's something more than what you've built with your soul. You know, there's like this language that they use where it's like they tell you there's something more than your soul work. You know, where like you built an audience. Because I think about this. I think about the music that I listen to, rap, hip hop, that has this depth, that has this meaning. Even if it's fun or whatever, the artist themselves is solid and all that. And I'm like, there's so many people who don't have the patience nowadays to listen to it. It's just like the mumble rap really is, I think, and in a lot of country music too. I can't listen to country music anymore. I haven't been able to for like 5 years. I just can't. It's like because it's just like mindless, you know. And I think that goes with it. People cannot. What you have to absorb, the vibrations are. You know what I mean? The vibrations are food. It's like people who eat unhealthy diets their whole life, changing to like they eat fast food, whatever, sort of. And they change to a healthier diet, it's a traumatic shift. You know, it's because their body may actually even reject a lot of it. You know, and I think that's the same. Like, what do you think about that? Like, I think it's the same with like listening to music and art. Not people don't have the patience for it. They can't digest it. A lot of people, you know, at first, and then there are people who are like, hey, this is really touching me. Maybe I want to shift, you know, kind of a thing.
Well, I think, you know, there's different type of music for everybody. And I think I don't want to put like mumble rap like all in one thing where it's like there's not any depth to it. Like, again, it comes down to each individual person, you know what I mean? Like what they're
You're so kind. See, I'm like, oh, this is trash. I just switched the radio.
because I think, you know what I mean? Like it's, you gotta give everybody a chance, I think. Not saying like I'm not saying that I don't like mumble rap. It's just, I think it's a style, right? You know, it's his own style. But I think for me, it just comes down to like what's actually being said, and that's with anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't mind listening to any music. It just depends what you're actually telling me. You know, what you're trying to program into my mind.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, I'm sure there's good mumble rap songs. I just haven't found them, and that's just not what I specifically like. You know, I kind of like really, really wordy type of songs, and that's just me. But yeah, so I don't want to put everyone in that, but I feel like.
Well, let me just tell you this, Ashley. I went from Haverhill to Chicago to Haverhill, listening to mumble rap the entire fucking time, okay? I was freaking out of my mind, fucking sick of it. Like, I was like, this has made me so insanely crazy. Like, I just, and as I said, listen, you're giving everybody a chance. I think that's awesome. I'm telling you, though, I listened to a lot of songs that was mumble rap, a lot, and I was like, listen, I want to give some of this a chance. Yeah. The only ones that I liked was not that style. So it was like it was like insane. It was insane. It was mind-numbingly awful.
Mind-numbingly. Yeah, you know.
I'm like, listen, this music, whatever its purpose is, it's clear to me now. The purpose is to make you literally just zone out, not think about anything. And like, if I hear, I got monies, I got this, I got cars, I got brands, whatever, again, I'm going to freaking throw myself out of the car.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely a lot of music is geared towards, a lot of it's just external, you know what I mean? Like, and especially, in my opinion, a lot of the music that might be more mainstream is it's just a lot of external things. There's not a lot of self-reflection, I feel, a lot of the time. So I think, you know, it's the music. I think just reflect. I think the music, most of the music I hear just reflects the state of the world. Really, you think like even if like the music is like trying to numb your mind, it's because people don't want to feel how they're feeling. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? So I just think, or like I hear a lot of sad music, like just sad music. I'm like, all right, so what am I going to do with myself after I'm sad? You know what I mean? But I think a lot of people are stuck in a state of sad, you know what I mean? And so I think that's just, you know, people like hold on to that. I think it's just a lot of the main core issues that we deal with as people is just kind of like they just try to blow it up and like those are the selling points. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense, right? But it makes sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't logically make sense why it would be like that, but it makes sense why like these are the things that are coming out. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's like the self trying to solve its own problem, but there's no conclusion. It's just like the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, okay, all right. You know, like it's just like if you're on a trail or if you're hiking, you expect to make it to the top. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like that's the relief. But a lot of it's just like you just been hiking for years and you're not finding any relief. And so it's just like just the same thing over and over again. And I think people are just trying to, at the core of it, are really trying. I don't know if really trying. People are attempting to try to find relief. You know what I mean? In whatever way, it's just not really working, I would say.
Relief and programming. Like, you're like, you know, what are you trying to, it's true. Because that's the way energy works. It influences literally like the vibration or even the formation of the cells, like the energy ions, right? But then the cell itself, it does change the sort of formation of that. So like, you know, and music is sound waves. You know, music is it really has this very direct influence into your mind, right?
Yes.
And so I was thinking about like an Ariana Grande song, and I don't listen to it like often because it was as you know, I was classically trained, you know, and she uses a minor key, and that's all the black keys on your keyboard, right? Minor key. She uses a minor key, and they've been doing this for a long time, but it's become like she's incredibly talented, actually, but you like in a lot of ways you wouldn't know it, you know, because she doesn't show it off. She actually does have quite a powerful voice, but she's kind of, in my opinion, she's really sold herself to this sort of industry. You know, she hasn't really made it about cultivating her art and stuff like that. But she actually is very talented, and I think she's really used that power. She's sort of she's directed that power in a way that's destructive. You know, because the song, you know, the words go, break up with your girlfriend, I'll let you hit it, you know, because I'm bored. I'll let you hit it in the morning like it's yours. And so she uses, I mean, think about that concept. It's so like, ugh, you know. But then, like, they use a minor key. And the minor key is it kind of gets in there more. It's like it's a little bit more sensual. It can be a little more sensual. It's a little darker, you know, and it gets in there. It gets into your skin, right? And the major keys are more like you can kind of feel it. The minor keys are kind of like inside, you know, and then the major key is kind of more outside, right? And so, but they use this minor key, and then they use this like they use the message. They use the minor key to carry this message, you know, of destruction, you know, self-destruction and stuff. And I always think it's very interesting how, like, you know, I know people like us sometimes get, and I was just hanging out with my friend in Louisiana, and she's like, I'm always getting called, like, you know, what do you call it? When you always think something is some kind of, what's the word?
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy or whatever. And like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and whether or not it's like such a conspiracy to the depth that someone might think, there is something there. When I heard that song, you know, I was like, this is not just a random event.
Mm-hmm.
This was crafted to influence the youth in this way.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like, I don't know, what do you feel about that? Some things I think just kind of come out of the culture, come out of how people are feeling, whatever. And some things, like that song, I'm like, no, that song was kind of crafted that way. You know, I feel like it was really infiltrated into, and whether or not Ariana Grande knows that or not, I don't think she's not a songwriter, so she doesn't write any of her songs. You know, she just gets songs. So yeah, she's about to say something.
Very in-depth question. I think I'll just speak personally. I'm very selective what I listen to. I think I can tell when songs, if I could listen to a song once and I could be just hear it wherever. I could be out and about, and then I'm like thinking about it later. You know what I mean? So like for no real reason, because I'm like, you know, like it's not. I wasn't a willing participant. Like, oh, let me go look up and listen to the song. So I think for me, I'm very selective what I listen to, because I think some songs are powerful in general, and some songs can be crafted in a way that are like stronger than other ones. And so I hear what you're saying. I'm very selective. Sometimes if I listen to songs, I can be like, you could feel it or something, like for me, and that's just like if I'm listening to a song, like if I get like a chill or some type of something that's like an alarm or something, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm just very selective, just for my, you know, where I feel like, so I'm like making sure that I'm like programming myself with the best thing. So I hear what you're saying, and
I love that. Yeah.
I'm very, very selective to a T.
Well,
Because sometimes you can tell the power of, they can be very influential on, you know, like your vibratory state. So.
Yeah, you know, your subconscious, you know, because like I'm always amazed with this particular song by a woman rock duo called Heart, and there was a particular song called These Dreams that I heard literally like in CVS for like places like CVS or other stores or whatever. I never really heard it on the radio. I don't think ever. I think maybe I caught the end of it. It was weird. It was a very elusive song, but every time I heard it, it really affected me a lot. And I was like, oh, that song. And it kept like escaping me. You know, like I like felt like, oh no, it's slipping away, like or whatever. I know, what is that song? I can't hear the words. You know, like it felt like it was just so. And then it took me how many years? I think Peter, my husband, Peter actually, he introduced me to that band, and I'm not sure if he introduced me to the band before or after. I was like, because we were listening. Oh, that's what it was. We were in a restaurant, and I was like, that song. Like, you know, like 23 years old. That song. I've been hearing that song for 10, 15 years, you know, and like I'm like, right now you're gonna help me figure out a word, a phrase. I can't like hear a phrase that I can even Google. And like when I started listening, and I started hearing the song, there was no such thing as Google. Okay, so like, you know, like you know, like then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. Then when you can start typing things into the computer, you know, I couldn't even catch a word. A phrase, you know, that I could just put in and I was like, right now you are going to help me Because I'm telling you, this song has been haunting me. And we finally it's like, okay, we catch a couple of phrases or whatever, and we type it in, and it happens to be actually this duo rock, duo that called Heart, that he listened to, for years. But he's like, I never heard that song. I've listened to all their hits and everything, but that song is on their hits. It was like the most elusive song. Anyway, but the words, I listened to the words more and more. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, the song talks about my life, like really in depth. The words are, these dreams go on when I close my eyes. Every second of the night. I have to sing it. Darn it, I have to sing it so I can remember it. So, these dreams go on when I close my eyes. Every second of the night. I live another life. These dreams go on when I close my eyes. Every second of the night, I live another life. These dreams, these dreams asleep. As dreams asleep when it's cold outside. Every moment I'm awake, the further I'm away. So, and then she talks about, like, the whole song is like, and it's like, don't watch the music video. It's like super corny, like 80s, big hair. Like, it kind of ruins it a little bit. But she talks about just like the symbolism in the song is insane. This prince that she meets in her dreams, and then just all this like stuff. And anyway, that chorus, when I close my eyes, I'm in my soul life. I'm in when I'm dreaming, I'm in my soul life where I want to be. And then when I'm awake, it's like cold outside, and the further I'm away from where, like, anyway. But it's like a really deep, concept where it talks about something really deep. And it's interesting how I knew that the entire time. Like, the hairs would go all up my arm every time I heard the song in a restaurant or whatever. Like, I knew, like, the hairs on my neck would go up, like, but I couldn't even catch the words. I couldn't even catch the words for 15 years or whatever, 10 years or whatever, but I knew what it was talking about, I knew what they were saying. And these women are phenomenal singers too, and guitarists and stuff. Really, really good stuff. But anyway, that story is all to say that just the vibration, like, it's amazing to me that it's just like the scrap, the tiny thread that I could like grasp from what I was hearing, was telling me everything that I needed to know about the song, and so, like, that's an example of just, the vibration of music, that there are songs that would never have that impact on you, simply because their vibration just isn't high enough, it just wouldn't, the process that person, wrote the song, or the environment that they wrote the song, or whatever, it's like it all goes into it, So I want to hear more about, like, your vision of, working with youth. So, like, you want to use music, specifically working with youth, as one of the or just one of the tools, or is it more just a personal thing, or do you have other visions of, what you want to do with youth and stuff?
Well, I think it's more than one pathway, I think, to work with youth that I'm going for. Definitely music, just being more like active in like the community and schools, and kind of just really trying to spark, or No, I wouldn't say spark because it's already there. I was just trying to increase one's belief in self. You know what I mean? And in hopes really just to kind of like, or I feel like youth suffer the most, you know, at they're always at the hands of us adults. You know what I mean? That we don't really got our own crap together. And so I think the main goal really is just to inspire. I don't want to say inspire. That's like a like inspire, but I really want to just kind of like guide them to really like trust themselves and really be like, yo, like I really can do anything and not like limited to what someone's telling you. You know what I mean? And kind of like going on your own path, and like you already know what that path is, but it's not like getting distracted by the BS, you know? So definitely like music is that, like music is a pathway to lead to more different things, you know what I mean? Like the music, I feel like, is its own entity, and it's going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to open those doors. And also it's my main, at the essence of everything I do is to help create a different type of youth culture, you know what I mean? And like music is one of those pathways, and music is such a part of our everyday existence, you know what I mean? And so it's just a way to like, I'm just trying to bring them all together, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I totally see that. Yeah, because also, like, I know for you, but for me, growing up, having that connection, that generational connection is like so, I grew up in my Asian culture, so I had that continuity that I think a lot of American youth are missing, that have that continuity in your culture. But in terms of, I guess, in terms of that sort of soul sustenance, where I guess, a lot of, because, and I just read recently, that there are three things that really influenced the dissolving of wise woman tradition in Asia, especially like China, Japan, Korea, was Japanese imperialism, Christianity, and Confucianism, and they're all male-centered military. Well, Confucianism is like very, very male-centered, sort of philosophy, and then of course we know about Christianity, and then Japanese imperialism is military-based. So male military-based. So my point being that the wise woman tradition, which is 1,000,000 years old, even like ancient Greek, like those religions and stuff, those are all masculine centered. Zeus is a male, the head god is male or whatever. But the more ancient religions, the main worship or communing point was the goddess, right? Was the earth, Mother Earth, the goddess. So my point being that the feminine spirituality really has the wisdom, has the tools to pass down the sort of internal process, right? Like there is that masculine, protection of masculine way, which is to it's sort of goal centered. It's sort of like goal oriented, and kind of put you on a path, and how to build character or whatever, stand for the truth, whatever, and the feminine is more about like an abstract, internalized process. I know for me, growing up, this concept, which is very feminine, this concept of like having that as I was talking about, where maybe seeing from a masculine point of view, an artist developing an artist, okay, practice a lot and, spend this amount of time practicing, or take a class, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the feminine process is like when you're curled up in a ball, depressed, and like being attacked by your self-doubt and like self-deprivation or traumas or whatever, then you got that like you used to have the mother line where you had the grandmother and the mother, right? And having that continuity there where they're there taking you through the internal process and helping you. Like, it's not, in the masculine is more like, all right, get up, chin up, let's do this, kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that process, but the feminine process is like, we're going to take as long as it takes to nurture you out of this state, and understand that this is a process. This is part of the this is part of the artistic process. It's not we live in a masculine-centered culture where you're depressed. Okay, that's a problem. That's getting in the way of your art. It's like, no, actually, the feminine sees it as part of the process. And so when I think about working with artists or working with youth, it's like, for me, it's so about introducing, because I am a woman, we are women, introducing that feminine part. It's like, no, this is depression and trauma and all these kind of things are not something to cover up or control. There's something to work through and understand that this is part of the process. That it will ultimately make you a deeper person and a deeper artist, and it will influence your art. As you work through it, it'll influence your art in a positive way. So yeah, I mean, I guess, what do you think about that? What do you think about, as I was talking about, kind of like having people, this concept of that you have people who have your back in that way. You have that sort of nurturing. That's what I think about, like having, working with youth. And it's like having that nurturing influence, where it's like that spiritual placenta or something, something like that.
No, I definitely think it's important. I think that's not really prevalent right now. I think, and that's for different reasons, but I think, again, like, depending on the situation, but in most cases, I feel it's just because people are so not in themselves, and they're really just in survival mode, where it's more like, you just need to get things done. Like, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. So definitely, that would probably be one of the main things that's lacking. It's just kind of like seeing like, yo, like, okay, like, you might be an adult and you're going through this stuff, but just because someone's a child doesn't mean that they're, they matter any less, or their feelings matter any less. They still need that, like, they need someone to nurture them as well. So definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's like amazing how, like, I think, like, you think about how you think art is solely this thing that you're creating, and the more I look back on my life as an artist, and I want to hear what you think, like how art has been, or music, art, performing arts for me in particular, dance, singing, acting, theater arts and film, how it's been creating me, like I create it, but it created me too. Actually, I think it mainly created me. Like, I created, but I'm just like, I'm the conduit through which this powerful force comes through, and so, like, seeing it that way, I see clearly how to help people in general, but youth, like, understand it, where like, I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have that assistance or that wisdom. Like, this is it's not about going and it's less about going and getting and creating something out of nothing, and it's more about becoming communing with the bigger with the force, you know.
Right,
So what do you think about the force? The force, you know. May the force be with you. no, what do you think about the force? Like that force, like I know it's an abstract concept, but it's art as being more than just something that you're creating or producing, but that art is also I don't know, for lack of a better word, a deity in a way, you know. That's like that you channel it, and that it creates you, and that it heals you.
Well, I think it definitely is. I mean, it's a part of the human process. It's not something that we can escape. It's just that if we embrace it or not. You know what I mean? So it is like it is helping you create yourself while you're creating it. I think in the sense of you're just learning more about yourself and learning about, like, you know, more and more depths of your understanding and your compassion and, you know, all these other things. But yeah, I feel like you can. It's everywhere. It's just like, all right, are you gonna put up a fight? You know, you're gonna try to fight me out. You try to beat me out, or you just gonna be like, yo, it's already here, and how can I embrace it? And not saying that is fun, you know, because it's not creating. It's not that it's not fun. It's not. How do I say it?
Take your time.
It can be hard.
I got an editor.
Because I'm trying to think, like, it's not easy. It could be, you know, and I don't know, I'll never say it's not ever fun for me, because I do find it fun. It's just not always easy to be in the middle of it, you know. But through, like, creating, like, you're able to become more aware of yourself, you know, like I'll just say, like, through the muse, you know what I mean, through the creativeness of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your awareness becomes the clarity comes from creating. And then the other thing is, like, that something that's gone in our culture is this concept of this ancient wise concept of replenishing yourself. You know, I think that we're just go, you know. And when I was in Tennessee, people are hired to write a song, 2 songs, 3 songs a week. You know, that's what they're hired to do. That's what they're paid to do. And I'm like that is so destructive, and that is so, like, against. I feel like against what it's almost like disrespectful to the deity that is art. You know, that a deity, the force that is art. You know, it sort of trying to, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have deadlines. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a structure, but that's not a structure. That's, I don't know, a machine. You know, trying to crank out, use, and there's that ancient concept of, like, if the force is a river, you know, the creative force of the force of life is a river, that certain forces will take that river and direct it in a destructive way. So that uses that, and that river eventually becomes dried up, or the dam becomes controlled. You can only have, it becomes accessible only in a limited way, you know.
Right.
So, like, yeah, I mean, we can talk, I know we've been talking for a while, you know, this is the last thing we talk about, where, you know, talk about replenishing yourself, replenishing the art, you know, replenishing the, that wisdom of, what was I talking to you about? We were talking about in our conversation, over the computer, where I was like, you get used to the way things work, is that get used to at least So at least 2/3 of what you've planned, the universe washes away, you know, and you're left with a third, and you get used to it. You trust that that is what's supposed to happen, you know, because you know that through that the clarity of so much more than what you expected can come, and so like the concept that like in this 9 to 5 culture, there is, and then half an hour for lunch. You know, there's no respect for replenishing. So yeah, I want to hear about that. You know, how like replenishing yourself, giving time, respecting the. Oh, I want to say just sort of like before you get into it, an example to kind of help you talk about it is that there's a circus performer. I was watching a video about her, and she talked about respect. She said you have to respect the learning process. And in her case, if she doesn't respect the learning process, she can injure herself very badly, right? She hangs from her hair. So like she has a bun and she has a hook, and she hangs from her hair and does like she swings around and she does like aerial dancing, right? But from her, like hanging her hair. And she's like, I can guarantee you I'm not in pain at all, but I had to respect the learning, honor the learning process. So my hair follicles, my scalp becomes strong, my neck becomes strong, like my back becomes strong. I have to respect those steps. And what I was thinking about, I was like, it's the same thing psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. We don't respect that process. We don't respect that time. We can injure ourselves when we do. So what do you have to say about that? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I think definitely like balancing yourself in the sense, like I know for myself, if I'm like, I can like literally like, you know, it's like 0 to 100 where I'm like, either I'm not doing it or I'm just gonna like go all the way. And what I've noticed is that it doesn't work out because I get super burnt out, and then I'm like, you know what I mean? And I kind of like kill the muse, versus when I'm like really just taking my time and being patient with myself, and like you're saying, like being patient with the process. I'm able to kind of like cultivate sustainability, you know.
Yeah.
So and again, like this is a daily practice for me as well, because I'm like, it is like, because you have one side saying like, all right, you want to get this done, and then on the other side it's like, okay, well, I want to get that done, but also I want to make sure it's right. And so it's about combining both of those and like going forward. And so I have times where I'm like going super hard, then I'm like, okay, now that I burn myself out, let's, you know, like now you have to recenter. And that's the thing, because when you do that, it takes longer for you to have to like to try to like get back to where you were, you know what I mean? And like when I take the more lax approach, it's like I'm able to, number one, I'm not stressing, and number two, it's just like I just feel better, you know what I mean? Like I can look at it like, okay, I didn't go 0 to 100 here, but look what I got, you know, doing this way, and I got all my energy. I'm not like tripping about this and that. So I think I'm still learning. I don't have it down pat. But I think it's just like the awareness of like what works and what doesn't, you know. And definitely,
I love you said cultivating sustainability. You know, where everything does have a rhythm. You know, that nature has there's a universal rhythm. You know, and it really is about getting in tune with that. You know, recently I'm like seeing more clearly about like the process of increase and decrease is natural. If there isn't the process of decrease, then you can't have the increase. Like life has to work that way.
Right. How
so
would you
you're
know?
gonna what's that?
That's like, how would you know that there was increase or decrease if you didn't have either of them? So right.
Right, exactly. You have that cycle is how it works. So like that time, I think that time of decrease is when our egos kind of freak out, or like, and I'm not talking about just ego like puff up ego or whatever. The ego the ego never wants anything to change, is what I'm saying. And the ego always wants everything to stay exactly the same. You know, and you know, depending on what the issue is, addiction, whatever, like, you know, a perpetual pleasure, perpetual money, whatever, you know, that, but the soul has a rhythm, and the reason I've been it's been more clear to me, like, okay, instead of, like, grasping when that decrease is coming, you know, that decrease comes, you feel things, I don't know if you understand, like, you've experienced this too, like, things start to pull away. The energy starts to pull away.
Right.
And I feel like all of our lives, because we live in this driven culture, and we're living in it, we're taught, we start to freak out about it. Oh no, it's going away, you know, and it's never gonna come back, you know, or whatever. And I'm starting to see more, like, how powerful it is to follow that. You know, let the tide go out. And when you go out with the tide, how much you're like, okay, I'm going inward, you know, and I'm collecting myself, and I'm learning, I'm going to the soul, and the soul is, this is the time when the soul tells you things. So then when the time of increase comes again, then you have all this information, right? I think it's like, you have all this information, and then it's a perpetual process, and that never, that is Senza, right? It's always going, you know, and just getting into rhythm with that is the key, you know, because I feel like all my life I was fighting, you know. I didn't know any better. It's not like I'm judging myself, but you're fighting, like, when it's like, you feel like, I don't know, for me, there's always this sense of, like, feeling like I'm falling. I'm falling, and I'm losing everything. You know, everything's starting to go away. Oh, I felt like all this creative energy or whatever, and then it's like the time of decrease comes, and it's like just learning, you know, just in the last few years, really connecting with that, like, that decrease time, you go inward. You go, you know, that's the time that you collect. So yeah, I guess, like, ending with that, where, like, you know, how do you feel that you're getting better at that, not fighting the decrease time, you know, and, you know, like, you know, I had all this creative process, where's it going, you know, or
definitely, yeah. I think it's just like, I just kind of go with it. I'm like, okay, here we are, and then, like, for me, it's like, when there's a decrease, I just know that everything is, like, things are shifting, and so it's not like I'm not as anxious. It's just more, I'm like, okay, so number one, like, what do I really need to, like, what's coming up for myself right now, and then also, like, what changes do I need to make in order to bring in, like, new, you know what I mean? So I'm more like,
say again, what changes you need to make to what?
What changes I need to make to bring in the new.
The new. I want to say that again. Yeah. I love how you phrase. I love talking. I'm so glad I did this, because I love talking like this, because the way people phrase things, you know, is something that I wouldn't phrase it that way, or I wouldn't think to phrase it that way, so yeah, absolutely. I don't know how long we talked, but what do you think? That's a good place to end?
That sounds good. Yeah.
That sounds good, yeah.